I am celebrating 10 years of being in business with Crystal Media. And in this episode, I'm going to share the top 10 lessons. I have learned a ton over the last 10 years. So it was very challenging to pick 10. There is probably 10,000 I could share, but I did narrow it down and I'm excited to share them with you, plus a little bonus lesson in this episode. So let's dive in. Are you ready to open up and talk about all things business? I'm Crystal Vilkaitis, a curious entrepreneur who loves talking about business, especially over a glass of wine. I started Crystal Uncorked to share open and honest conversations about my journey and talk to other entrepreneurs about their experiences. We pull back the curtain and talk about the highs and the lows. Wine isn't required, but is recommended. This is Crystal Uncorked. Okay, before I share the 10 things that I've learned in being in business for 10 years, which by the way, can we just do like a whoa, 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 my sound effects of celebrating that? I mean, it's such a great accomplishment. I am honored and thrilled that my team and I have crossed this milestone, and I feel almost like I've just begun. I feel like there's a Crystal Media 2.0 happening. I just have a lot of refreshed perspectives and ideas and more of all of that to come. But I'm just so grateful that we have crossed over the 10 years. And if you have been a part of that in any way, thank you, thank you, thank you. Your support means the world to me. Now, before I share these 10 tips, I want to talk about something that's wine related because this is Crystal Uncorked. Now, I don't have a glass of wine, which you think I would be having champagne to pop the bubbly and celebrate, but I am filming this after Labor Day weekend. And it was such a long, amazing weekend where I shared a lot of wine and champagne with my team, part of my team in California. We celebrated, and with our friends there too. So I'm filming this a little too early for wine or champagne. But I do want to share a wine tip plus a small business tip. So over this weekend, we were in California, and Burtech Family Vineyard, who I've had Dominic Burtech on the show. He was episode 34. Go check that out if you haven't. Very inspiring about a family ran vineyard in California. And I've just grown pretty close to this family. I'm one of their legacy members. I love their wine. And they opened a new tasting room in Vista, California. So if you're in the area, go check it out. And so, of course, I wanted to go see the tasting room while I was in town. So we were driving there, and it's in this business park, kind of like industrial business park. And I was surprised by that. I totally just thought it was going to be like downtown Vista. And so we pull in. It's just such a gorgeous area. They've got some vines that are growing right there, which I love. And the tasting room is just super cute, feels like home. Got to see Olivia from Burtech, who I just love her. And I'm sitting there though, and and as we're pulling up, I'm thinking, gosh, there's like no foot traffic here. And as Crystal Media, that's what we teach is foot traffic. And so I'm talking to Olivia, who works at Burtech, and she's like, yeah, we don't have foot traffic here. So we're really like leaning on our members, and we've got our signs out there because you saw these wine tasting signs all over the place as you were driving in. And so I was sitting there and just like, they've really created something special and great wine, and I just want them to succeed. And I was overhearing the table next to me listening on what they were saying. And it was these two couples in their seniors, probably in their 60s, 70s. And they were like, yeah, well, we just saw the signs and followed the signs. And so I was listening on just kind of how like they've never been to Burtech before. It was their first time. They were loving it. And what brought them in were the signs. And so as simple of a tip as that, if you are a local business owner, I feel like so many of the businesses we work with at Crystal Media, we're always thinking about social media. I need to be showing up on social and marketing on social and all the things social media. But think about the other things that help support your business too to drive foot traffic, and your physical signage is one of the best ways. And hands down, it did the job for Burtech. They were super busy in there while we were there. And I'm not surprised because they have great wine. So check them out. I've had them on the show a lot. That day I had a Pinot Gris. Am I saying that right? Pinot Gris, which I never drink, but it was hot. And so it was a delicious, crisp white wine. Okay, let's dive into my 10 tips, shall we? Now, this is in no particular order. Over these 10 years, I've learned so much. And I just have to say the number one, and I mentioned this on the show before in episode 4, is having a mentor. Number one is having a mentor. I could not have gotten where I am. I mean, without a mentor. I have learned so much. I've had several mentors, but one specifically is Patricia Norins, who's become my dear friend. And thankfully, I reached out to her basically in the beginning, within my first year of business, needing help. And she is the one that helped me set up my budgets and really focus on what my strategic priorities were and how I'm spending my time and partnerships and hiring and firing, tough conversations. Like, she has just mentored me through so much over these 10 years. I can't imagine going through that alone. And really, you should not be going through business alone. It's tough. It's really hard work. And there are just things that happen that you don't know the answer to. You don't know how to solve it. Like, we're making all this shit up as we go. I feel like you just, next thing you figure it out, you figure it out, you figure it out. And when you have a mentor that is a good mentor who really understands you and your heart and your vision and your business, they can really help support you in growing the business and giving you excellent advice and just being there for you during downtimes too, during the struggle, and really encouraging you. And so that has hands down been so helpful for me, of having a mentor and somebody that I got to work really closely with, because I've joined mastermind groups, and those like leaders of the masterminds, I kind of consider them my mentors as well, but there's not a lot of one-to-one working with them. They're kind of just coaching the whole group, and maybe you ask a question here or there, have them look at something for you, but it's not as deep. Like Patricia, really, she knew my numbers. She really understood my business. I shared everything with her as far as what I was going through. And I really recommend that, because they can help mentor you better when they know the whole picture of what's happening. So get a mentor is number one. You can also have several mentors. You don't have to just have one. I've had some coaches along the way too, but just find the right people for your business. And I think I mentioned this. This is in no particular order, okay? Because like all of these are so good. So number 2 is on something that, as I reflect back on the past 10 years, I really wish I would have done more of this. It's definitely a regret of mine, and that is to always be list building. I haven't done a great job of list building and having it be something that we're always focusing on. And what I mean by that is getting new email addresses or cell phone numbers. For us, it's really email addresses, because we do a lot of email marketing. Over the past 10 years, the biggest ways that we've grown our email list is through speaking. I'll give away the slides if people give their email address, or we'll have a lead gen or something like that. And then like partners will send for us, but we just haven't done a whole lot else to build our email list. And so what that means is we have to work really hard getting people on our list so we can then sell to them, right? Like, I just think that we've worked harder than we probably needed to build our list, or we could have been a lot further along over these 10 years if we had it be a bigger focus. And email marketing is one of the top sales generators for us. We'll do a launch, we'll send several emails, and that's how we're getting sales. And so that's where I really wish we focused on building that list. I am proud that since I started this business 10 years ago, I have always sent, there's been a few weeks that we missed and we don't send during holidays, but we have always sent an email every Monday. And it's a newsletter. So it's value add, it's tips, it's educational, and it's just a way to really help support and always build that relationship with the retailer. So I'm glad that we've been consistent in doing that, but I just really wish we would have built the list more and had that be a bigger effort. So guess what? Like I said, I feel like I'm just getting started. Crystal Media 2.0 here. We're going to really focus on building that list. And then also, we're going to really focus on just really being more thoughtful and strategic on what we're emailing and including more stories and behind the scenes and more value add, not just doing those sales emails and the weekly tip. So if you're on our list, you're going to love what's to come. If you're not, you're going to want to join the Rise and Shine newsletter. I'll link to it in the show notes here. The next one is happy to help. Happy to help has been our motto. It's what from the very beginning I said from, when I had my new members, when I sent out my emails saying, hey, I have this new business now. Let me know how I can help. I'm happy to help. I just have always lived through that lens. And it's not like a bullshit, slogan. It's a genuine, I am happy to help. Like the industry that I'm in, social media, changes so fast and so rapid. And especially 10 years ago, a lot of my retailers, they felt really behind and just didn't know how to use this technology. They've come a long way over the past 10 years. More people have embraced it. More people have just gotten on these platforms, figured it out, learned it's not that challenging. They did the work. They're doing it. But like 10 years ago was a little bit harder. And so when they had somebody who genuinely was happy to help them, my retailers didn't feel as nervous to ask a question or felt like they were asking a stupid question. Like we are always so shy to raise our hand when we see a speaker talk to ask a question because we feel like it's stupid. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody in my audience say, this is probably a dumb question, but I just know question is dumb. You don't know these things. We don't know what we don't know. And so I've just been so happy to help. And I also just really love working with the people that we do work with, because when you see those breakthroughs, like when they finally get it, or they build the confidence to put themselves out on a Facebook Live and they start seeing results and they email us, they tell me at a show, they're so excited. That just is exciting. Like it's so fulfilling. And so we're just happy to help. So that's always been my motto. And it's funny, my grandma, I live in Colorado now, almost a year. We've been back home here in Colorado. And so I see my grandma more and I'm helping her with different things. Like she just moved. So I moved all of her utilities over and I helped move her and unpack her. I've taken her to appointments. I've painted her pantry. I've done all sorts of stuff. And I always say to her, like, Grandma, I'm happy to help. She's like, thank you. I'm like, I'm happy to help. I'm like, let me know what you need. I'm happy to help. And she, the other day was like, wow, you really are happy to help. Like you really are. So it's just kind of my life motto. And so with my team, I've been really focused on making sure that they understand that too, and they walk that walk, and they all embody it. They're all very helpful to our clients, and they are just genuine and want to help. So that is my third lesson I've learned within this business, because I will tell you, when you are genuinely happy to help, people recognize that. People are grateful, and you gain their trust. And then they become lifetime customers with you and clients with you. But you have to be genuine, okay? Number 4 is we have to give value. And this goes along with happy to help. Like I view these separately. I feel like genuinely being happy to help and letting people know that and supporting them is different than giving value. But you give value because you're happy to help. But what I mean with the giving value aspect is, over these past 10 years, I have given a lot of free education. When I speak, when I do my in-person speaking, webinars, whatever it may be, I always want to over deliver. It's really important to me to add a lot of value to my audience, like really important to me. So there are times where I might have somebody feel overwhelmed in my audience because I gave a lot of value. But what happens is, let's say I'm speaking, I give a lot of value, and afterwards I have a line of people that want to ask questions. And I will have somebody be like, that was way over my head, but I feel really energized And this one thing you said, should I focus on that? So they got something out of it. And even though there might have been some overwhelm, they did get something out of it. And often they feel energized. Then the next person will come up and be like, that was the best seminar I've seen on social media. Like, thank you. You didn't leave. Finally, somebody told me how to do something. And I have heard that so many times, which I am honored. I'm grateful. I want to be your best social media seminar. Like, I want our content to be so good. You need to find value in it. You are investing an hour with us or 45 minutes or 90 minutes. It needs to be worth it for you. Now, some experts in the internet marketing world will say, don't over deliver because you're doing a disservice to the person who's listening. And if you're giving them too much to do, they'll go home and do all that stuff first versus hire you and work with you. And I've gone back and forth with this. I think that that's totally true. I think that, I probably give people a lot of the steps that they can do on their own, and I might not close as well at an event if I'm selling something there. For me, it's more important to add value in that hour, in that presentation, and send them home with stuff to do and really help them without them spending any money with me. Because what happens is they remember my presentation. They remember me. And when they're ready to spend money, or they've done all the list of things, or they're stuck somewhere, where are they reaching out? It's to us. It's to my team. And we've heard from so many people who are like, oh, I saw Crystal speak 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Some of these people will come out of the woodwork and then are ready to work with us, but it's years later after I spoke. They listened to me for 1 hour and they still chose us 4 years later, and maybe even more than 4 years. So that's meaningful to me. I rather have that than I give you a tiny bit in my hour. I close a bigger part of the room, but people walk away being like, I didn't really learn a lot from that. I feel like I learned 1 or 2 things. I want you to learn a lot. So that is my fourth thing. And I also just want to say, I think I talked about this on a previous episode, but I don't remember what episode, but I had one of my best months, highest revenue months at that point, I think I was in business for 7 years. And the way I did it is I did a bunch of free consultations. I put into our insider group, into our Facebook group, hey, I'm going to do a free social media audit to the first 10 people that comment on this post. Immediately 10 people commented. It was like, boom. People were ready for their free audit. And I was like, okay, guys, I can't stop there. So if anybody else that you commented, I'm going to do yours too, but I'm just going to start with this top 10. I did over 25 audits, like within just a couple of days, where I was like on screen, looking at people's Facebook and Instagram, sending them advice. What ended up happening is so many of those people were like so grateful. And then they would buy other products. They would buy Get Listed. They would become an ads client. Like they would upgrade. So even though I was just like adding value and doing something for free, they then bought more from us. And I gave them so many tips in there. So then we opened this up and we did it to not just our insider members, but to our bigger list. And the response there was wild. I think I had like 55 audits I had to do or something. And a lot of those people converted into sales. And back then, the main way we sold was in person if we were at events and we were speaking or doing webinars and selling. And so I was able to sell without going anywhere, and without anybody else's list, like a partner's list. And so that made a big impact, but it was because I gave, and I didn't just like do these audits like, oh, you should post more on Instagram. And by the way, become a member of ours. It's $97 a month. Like it wasn't a sales pitch. It was just like, here's 20 minutes of free help. And then I took 2 minutes and said, hey, I really think you'd be a great insider. Here's what we could do for you. Or, hey, you really got to be on ads. If you're going to do it, awesome. If you don't want to do it, we can do it. So just giving that value has been a huge help for us over the years. It makes you memorable. And it also builds that trust with your audience. And then fifth, and then for the sake of time, we're going to do a 2-parter. So we're going to do part 1 with this, and then we'll come back next week with part 2. So don't miss part 2 because it's juicy. All right. The fifth tip for part one of what I've learned after these 10 years of being in business is find like-minded partners. And then really work those partnerships. So early on, I started Crystal Media after being with a company called Snap Retail. And Snap Retail, I was there for about 1.5 years, and my job was to teach social media. And I did so in these seminar rooms at these major wholesale markets in Atlanta, Vegas, and Dallas. And when we would do that, it's like I had my little seminar education room, and then sometimes we would bring in other speakers to teach our retailers. And one of those speakers was Bob Nagin of Whizbang Training. I've had him on the show as well. You could just search Bob or Whizbang Training and find it on the blog. We'll also link to it. So Bob and I just immediately connected. Like, we're both educators, we're both speakers. I would sit and watch his session. I'd always learn something from him. The retailers loved him. And I just really liked Bob. And so when I went out on my own with Crystal Media, I'm telling everybody what I'm doing. And Bob was one of those people. And he was so supportive. And I remember just really having some questions around my speaking career. Like, should I join the National Speakers Association, the NSA? How should I price myself for speaking? How should I price my membership? And I just reached out to Bob and asked him a couple questions around pricing and speaking. And right away, he's like, let's jump on a phone call. And he just gave me such great tips and direction and advice on my pricing, which I think really helped me get started. And then also with just like speaking, and he's like, don't join NSA. I've never joined NSA and I still get speaking gigs. And, he's like speaking all over the place. And so I love that advice. I never did join. I think there's like a $600 a year fee. I saved the fee. I just started working my network. And then what would end up happening is I speak, and then somebody in the audience hears me speak, and then they are also planning a conference. So they asked me to speak at that one. And it just really grew by word of mouth. And you know what? How it grew by word of mouth? I had valuable content. It goes back to point 4 that we just talked about, right? Give value. I just over delivered. And so people were like, this was so good. Will you speak at my show? So, just having his help. Anyways, going back to partners, like that, he was in a way, he was more my mentor in that case. But then as I started building my list and getting on more stages and serving more retailers, I then was invited to speak at Bob's conference, Retail Success Summit. And I had a booth. I was a sponsor, and I sold at his show. And it was it was a really great show for me. I got a lot of new clients. I got a lot of new email addresses. And then I just kind of had that credibility of being on that stage. And then also I over delivered, and I have been invited back every single year since. So I've spoke all 10 years of my Crystal Media career at the Retail Success Summit. Plus I spoke a year there with Snap Retail. And so, we share the same type of customer, but we also are like-minded in how we run our business and how we serve. So Whizbang Training is very heart-centered. They also give a ton of value. They're also happy to help. They really serve their community. And when you find partners that are the same as you in kind of that level of expectation, then they have an audience that's primed for you to come in and really serve them. And they're going to just love what you're providing and feel like they're in such good care with you and the partner, right? Like both of those people helping serve together is going to help that business in whatever it is that you're selling and that you offer. It also just makes it a lot more fun when you're partnered with people who are like-minded, and it makes it easier to send for them. It makes it easier to promote their business. It's just a really great partnership, and Whizbang's just been such an amazing partner to us over these years. So big shout out to them, but I can't stress it enough. Find like-minded partners. They're not our only partner. We have several partners, the Good Toy Group, Retail Mavens, Josh Orr with Streamline Retail, And Kathy Wagner's with Streamline or with Retail Maven. She's going to come on the show, and BloomNet. So we have these. So I'm sure I'm missing a few of our great partners, but we have these great partners that are like-minded. I'm so thankful for them, and they really help support the business, and just also have been a part of my kind of support as an entrepreneur. All right. So like I said, we're going to pick things back up next week with our part 2 of the 10 things that I've learned being in business for 10 years. But if you resonated with any of these 5 tips so far, I would love to know what your favorite one is so far. So you can DM me. You can leave a comment on this post. The best place, this is definitely an update that I just want to share. I'm no longer posting to the Crystal Uncorked Instagram account. So, instead of having that account plus my personal Crystal Vilkitis account plus the Crystal Media business account, it was feeling like too much to manage. And I've been focusing on doing things more efficient and a little more, streamlined. And so in efforts of doing that, the best place to follow, to know about new episodes, to see behind the scenes, to stay up to date with me, to talk to me is going to be Crystal Vilkitis, my personal Instagram. And then of course, follow Crystal Media as well. We're Crystal Media CO on Instagram. We'll link to both of these things, but definitely if you search Crystal Uncorked, you'll find my personal too, since, Crystal Vilkitis is a tough last name. But, let me know, DM me. I want to know what one of your tips was. And then I will see you next week on part 2. I thank you so much for listening. And again, if you've been a part of this 10-year journey, I so appreciate your support. Couldn't do it without you. Okay. I'll see you on the next See You. Bye. Hey, real quick, if you are a retail store owner, I would love to see you at Evolve. This is my in-person marketing conference happening April 26th and 27th, 2023 in Denver, Colorado at the Gaylord Rockies, which is a stunning venue. You get to spend 2 days with me and my team and keynote speakers, as well as other retailers looking to evolve their marketing, business, and lives. It's an intimate event. We only have 200 tickets available, and we've already sold out. We've sold a lot of those seats already. So this event will sell out. Do not delay because we have special pricing depending on when you hear this and when you sign up. And I would love to see you in that room. So go to crystalmediaco.com/evolve. That's crystalmediaco.com/evolve to get your ticket. And I would love to see you there. And thank you for listening to this episode. Bye.